Welcome to the MEF2C cast, the podcast advocating for the MEF2C haploinsufficiency community by broadcasting the voices within. I'm Eli.
And I'm Haley. We are parents to a boy with MCHS and autism, sharing our journey with you throughout conversations grounded in learning, support, and community.
This is Advocacy Amplified. Do you have questions, comments, or a story to share? Want to be a guest on the show? Connect with the MEF2Ccast on Facebook, mef2ccast.com, or email us at mef2cast@gmail.com.
If you enjoy the show, please support us by subscribing to the show on Apple and Spotify, leaving us a review, and following us on social media. You can also buy MEF2Ccast merch at our Shopify store, linked in the podcast description. The MEF2Ccast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Views expressed are those of the hosts and guests and not necessarily of the podcast or its sponsors. This is not medical advice. Consult a healthcare professional for medical concerns.
Alrighty, hi everybody, welcome to the MEF2C cast. We are back with Sean Rafferty and Claire Bothwell from the Australian MEF2C Foundation. How are you guys?
Good, thanks.
Good, yeah. So we've already done one recording with Sean and Claire, but we still had a lot to talk about with the foundations. We jumped back on with them to talk about that a little more. Can you guys talk about were you guys involved with the founding and the foundation of the geez Louise. Were you guys involved with the founding of the foundation, or how did you guys get involved?
So we were involved in the founding of the foundation together with two other, parents of another MEFD based in Brisbane, actually. It's sort of our hometown, which is great because they're really good friends of ours now, and we were able to sort of get together and make it all happen, I guess. And one of the reasons we did it is because there's a couple of reasons really, but one of the reasons we wanted to start the foundation is because when we got Thea's diagnosis, there just wasn't any information available about the diagnosis, and it was just a really lonely time. And we thought, well, what can we do to make it a bit easier on people for people who get a diagnosis, and how can we sort of, I guess, let them know that in a way that everything will be okay. Not being able to take away the grief and all of the shock that comes with the diagnosis, but sort of how can we sort of make the news a little less harrowing, I guess. So, yeah, so that was sort of part of it. And then the other part of it was we really wanted to do some fundraising to support ongoing research at the time. And in Australia, it's sort of hard to fundraise legally unless you are a charity. It's like there was at the time all these different, so we have sort of different states and territories, like not dissimilar to the US, and every state and territory had a different fundraising legislation at the time, and that sort of changed a bit now. But we thought, well, what sort of vehicle could be used for fundraising, and a charity sort of ticks a lot of boxes in terms of ease of fundraising. Yeah.
Claire's been modest. She works in law here and was instrumental in establishing the foundation from a legal point of view, because there's lots you need to do and lots of material you need to wade through to get a basic understanding of the governance side of things. So we were really fortunate that we have someone with an ability to kind of pass all that information and set up the structure of the foundation. I think a lot of other foundations have had to outsource that, and at great expense. So we were able to, expedite that process. I mean, it takes a long time, because there's lots of back and forth between directors and ironing out all the details. But we were on good footing from the outset, I think.
And we had the firm I work for gave us some pro bono hours, which was really great as well. So anything we were sort of struggling with, we asked them for help. So it sort of made the process a lot easier than it would have otherwise been, I think, which is fun. Because, when you're setting up a charity for a good cause, you just don't really want to have a whole lot of challenges in terms of setup process. You want that to be as smooth as possible. So, yeah, it's worked out well.
Did you have any experience with anything like that before? Did you have to figure all that out?
No, I was all sort of new, like very new, but I guess like sort of just knowing some basics about how sort of company types work and things sort of made it a little bit easier.
Mhm.
But insofar as because we're a company, like an incorporated entity, so we're Sean and I are directors and never been directors of anything before, so that was a sort of a big upskilling as well. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Jane and Dean, who are the other co-directors, have been directors of companies before. Yeah, there's new territory for us, but yeah, it's a learning experience for sure.
How long ago was that you guys started the foundation?
18 about 18 months ago.
I think it was like
Okay.
October 2024 that we launched, and we wanted to get it um, afloat sooner than that. You know, and we were kind of itching to do that, but like there's always this one thing that crops up here, or something takes a bit longer than you expect. So yeah, it's frustrating, but when you've got full-time jobs and you've got caring responsibilities, you can only dedicate so much time,
Yeah.
as you know.
Yeah, I mean, I my job's not nearly as demanding as being a lawyer, I'm sure, and a podcast isn't as demanding as running a foundation, so I can't even imagine how hard that would be.
Or, if you from yourself, you just sort of fit it in when you can. So,
Mhm.
yeah, so that's what we've been doing. I mean, we sort of have greater ambitions, but it's just, you know, there's not enough hours in the day, I guess. So,
Yeah, and
Yeah.
also like, you know, people's capacity changes. So at the moment, I think I'll probably have more capacity than the other directors, and that'll change, and they'll be able to pick up the ball. And yeah, we have so much we need to do,
Mm.
and we hope that time just becomes available.
yeah, just appears.
Just appears.
Yes. Yeah, so what is your sort of, like, philosophy when it comes to the foundation? Like, where are you guys concentrating your efforts? Do you have your own research projects going on, or are you working with other foundations throughout the world? Kinda take us through what you guys are actually doing.
I can talk about our mission, and then maybe Claire can talk about the partnerships that we're involved in. But I mean, our mission is sort of three main things. It's to raise awareness of MEF2C haploinsufficiency syndrome. It's to support research into MCHS and therapeutic pathways, and it's also to build community. So that's a crucially important part of what we do. We have a small community. It's important that we have the opportunity to share experiences and build knowledge around condition, and to form strong relationships with the other people in the community so that we can get things done, really. And yeah, I guess part of that, like at the moment, one of the focuses is on, the strong focuses is on supporting research, and we're partnering with orgs in Germany, UK, and the US. I'll let Claire talk about that.
Yeah, sure. So we are partnering with the German Foundation, with the MEF2C Foundation in the UK, and with Rarebird in the US to get the Valere study and sort of uh, make sure that that is fully funded for I think it's a 2.5 year time frame. And we've been doing some fundraising for that, and we'll continue to do so. We think the Valere study is really important, and it's a great initiative. It's research agnostic, and I think sort of beyond any sort of obviously I think the ideal situation is that there would be a clinical trial and the data could be used to sort of in conjunction with the clinical trial. But beyond that, it's just a great way to gather information about individuals with MCHS and to really inform the medical community and researchers about the condition, which I think there's still so much that's unknown about it at a really granular levels. I think it's a great initiative, and um, I'm sure we think a lot of good things will come from it.
Yeah.
Think
Yeah,
it's
I agree.
fully subscribed in the US. So I think 36 out of 36 in-person visits have been sort of booked in, which is fantastic. There's plans to launch a Doha sites. People from Australia and the Middle East and Africa and Eastern Europe can access that site um, as a sort of part of a Valere study. I think there's a plan to also open the virtual cohort up to everyone around the world to continue gathering data, which is really great. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, the more data that they can gather at this stage, certainly the better. So what sort of things do you do to actually raise funds?
We had uh, an initial inaugural fundraiser last year, so that was just a launching fundraiser, and since then we've been kind of limited to one platform. So there's a platform called GoFundMe, which most people would be aware of. It's linked to the PayPal payment system, and it's a very easy thing to use. We've had family members. My dad raised a bunch of money running the Paris Marathon. He's 71 this year, so that was a big effort. But you can set that up yourself, and we're actually trying to encourage more people uh, to try and take the initiative to do fundraisers without us, overseeing
Mm.
everything. So my cousin ran Berlin Marathon for the foundation, and recently Finn and Eve, who are the years older brother and sister, they're twins. They ran Bridge to Brisbane, which is a local run here, a really popular run. So they raised some money for that as well. And it was a really good way for them to, I guess, get articulate about the condition their younger sister has. So they're only 10 years old, but they're I guess you don't realize how little they know because they're just always there and they're quite young. So
Right.
it was a nice opportunity for them to educate themselves, but also their classmates and their peers.
Yeah. So this may be a silly question, but how are people actually raising money from running a race?
So you basically you declare or you broadcast that you're going to run an event. And let's just take my dad's run, for example. For an example, he's like, he was 70 when he ran Paris, and that is like, it's a big feat.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm running this for my granddaughter. Will you support my cause? And he sets a target. So his target was I think $2,500. And then, he ended up raising almost $14,000. So he blew past that. I guess you just get donations from friends and family and your network. And yeah, it's sort of, I guess it's a neat way to do it because people like with Finn and Eve, people who are doing the fundraising become, I guess, ambassadors for
Mhm.
the condition. So they need to have a little bit of a basic knowledge about what they're raising money for, and then they're going to go to their networks and, as an appeal, ask for donations to support their cause. So I think it's a really good model. I mean, it's not like so many people are doing it. It's not exactly groundbreaking. The running craze is definitely global, and people are doing fundraisers in that kind of vein all the time. Whether it's like
Yeah.
putting on an event and then getting people to support it, or
Right, right, right. Yeah,
you know
I
how
mean, I
early
maybe it's
deployment,
just
the
I'm sorry. Yes. Right, yeah. Yeah, maybe it's just a cultural thing or maybe just something I missed, but, like, I've heard of people like, I've done endurance events before where people, like, pledge so much money per like, "I'll give you $1 per mile," and then in that event, I had 24 hours to cover as many miles as I could, but I've never heard of people I'd never heard of that particular model before, which completely makes sense, but, I ran
yeah.
a 50K once, I guess I just did it for the masochism of it. I wasn't raising money for anything, but yeah, so do you guys put on any, like, events or anything, or is that your primary is just sort of facilitating other people?
Well, yeah, I mean, we had our first big MEF2's catch up, or MEF2's meetup, I suppose, and you talked about like the I guess the benefit or the value in doing that, meeting in person. So
Mhm.
we want to do it more regularly. That we had National Carers Week here in October, and we got everybody together, as many of the communities we could. We're in southeast Queensland, so there's quite a decent population close to us, but it was such a valuable experience, wasn't it?
yeah, it was really great. That was not a fundraiser though
No.
as such, but we have sort of thought about other types of fundraisers, gala dinners and things like that.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the meetup was, it was really wonderful. I think when we last spoke to you, we'd had the meetup that day.
Hence our exhaustion.
Yeah, I think that's genuinely one of the like maybe the single best thing that can be done for anyone in the community is actually get people in the same room.
Yeah, and we
You
really
know,
want.
as it sorry?
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say we really want to do more of it. Having done the first one, we want to like potentially do a weekend retreat or something like that. So because the time during the actual meetup is really great to put faces to names, but then substantial or meaningful conversations happen over a longer period. So having like a day or two or three to do that is
Mhm.
we're aiming for really helps us to kind of like do that community building aspect of our mission.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Also, it's just hard when, you know, you're all in the same room and you all have people you need to support to just, you know, have a conversation longer than, I don't know, 30 seconds
Yeah.
without having to turn around or, you know, it gets a little tricky. So, do you want to talk about the fundraiser you're doing with the MEF2C Run Club?
Yeah. So because we've realized that running was becoming a bit of a theme in terms of our fundraising, and because my family and Claire and I are both runners and love it and have done it for decades now, we just thought like a nice or a fun way to encourage people to raise awareness and to do fundraising was to set up a kind of a run club, like give the kind of the activity or the endeavor a separate identity that we can have a bit of fun with. So that's why we set up the Mefties Run Club, which is this
Mhm.
is like giant t-shirt. Yeah, so it's a thing that we have only just started, but we've got a separate little website, which is like a sub page of our foundation website. And next year in October, um, we've launched a big fundraiser. We're going public with it soon, but there's an event in Sydney called the Bondi to Manly Ultra, and it's an ultra marathon. It's just close to 80 kilometers, and ostensibly it is like an individual event, but in reality, it's kind of a team event. So most of the people who run are part of a team. And so each person runs approximately 20 kilometers and starts in Bondi Beach in Sydney and follows the coastline all the way around into the harbour and back out again to Manly, which is the first northern beach. So Bondi is the northernmost southern beach and Manly is the southernmost northern beach. And it's an incredible run. Like it's the harbour in Sydney is just drop dead gorgeous. And there is a path that goes from one beach to another. And an old mate of mine, Lachlan Harris, with a friend of his, set up like established this route and has done a lot of wayfinding, and then from that established the ultra marathon. And so together with him and another mate, Nick Fordham, we're getting a bunch of teams together. So our goal is 20 teams and each team will raise money. And yeah, we're hoping to raise around $50,000. And yeah, we haven't done this thing before, but we're hoping we can get the numbers together. And unlike most of running events, there's like where it has a festival atmosphere at the start and a festival atmosphere at the end. This is unique. It's got like 5 of those. So you have like your start point at Bondi, and then you have the first changeover point and third changeover points, and then the end. And the end is like incredible because you have these people who have run 80 kilometers for crossing the line and their families are there. And it's just an emotional kind of like fantastic moment. Yeah, we think that if people get involved, they'll really love it. It's yeah, I mean, not everybody can run, obviously. Like it's a very much a privilege for like to be able-bodied enough to do it. But there's other ways people can get involved.
Mhm.
Getting people from point to point is there's a support crew element to it. There's like we want to potentially have accommodation for people to stay. So yeah, I guess that's the sort of outline of it, but like more details will follow.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. You know, we might have talked about this on the last show, but the thing about running, I think that's great about this particular community is that like you just have to put a decent pair of shoes on and walk out the door. Like when you have someone that needs so much of your time and effort can be really difficult. I have a garage in my gym or a gym in my garage rather. Although that's kind of still the same thing. But
Yeah.
you know, even then, like right now, it's winter here. It's really difficult for me just to get out to the garage to train because I can't take Leo out with me. But most people can throw on their shoes and go out for a half hour and run around the block or whatever. So it's super accessible. And then even like we have, it's really more like a bike trailer. It is a bike trailer, but there's like an adapter thing that you can put a front wheel on. And then like if I wanted to go for a run, you could take your kid with you. You know what I mean? And Leo really enjoys it. Um, the other thing is like when I used to be more into ultra running, like I said, but that's one of the only things I've found that really shuts my brain off. Where like, of course, when I was running, I was like in college and just out of college too, so I also didn't have a whole lot to think about. Like that's the only thing I've found where like you look down at your watch or your phone or whatever, and it's mile 8, and then you look down again and it's mile 13, and like you literally don't know what happened. Like there's not many things that um sort of allow you to relax in that way and sort of take your mind off of everything. So I think that's something that's just running in general, I think is something that's really valuable to parents in this community. Have you started a Strava group for the run club?
Yeah, actually, it's MEF2C's Run Club. We
Gotcha.
have, I think, 8 followers. But yeah, we haven't done anything significant as a running group. It's sort
Uh-huh.
of like the MEF2C's Run Club is largely a virtual club. So,
Mm,
but we have IRL
yeah.
ambitions, if you like. You know, like since we did the Bridge to Brisbane with Finn and Eve, they've become little runners, you know. So on Tuesday afternoons and on Monday mornings, so Monday mornings Claire takes them out, and Tuesday afternoons I take them out, and they bring some friends, and so there's a little crew of us running around, and like you said, we just chuck Thea in the pram, and she
Mhm.
loves just hooning after like the other kids and
Yeah.
sticking her head over the edge of the pram, washing the wheels. It's really good, and it's really like emotionally regulating for the kids before school, and you know, I guess after
And for
school is
us as well,
yeah for
before
us.
work. Yeah.
Running has always been a bit of a meditative thing for me, so it's
Mhm.
not only for the mind, but also, you know, the endorphins you create while you're running. There are so many health benefits to it that, yeah, it's definitely something that that side of things is something we want to talk more about because as parents of kids with disabilities, it's the more things you can do that are mindful and beneficial to your health, the better.
Yeah. Well, and it's something that you're sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Claire, but it's also something that you're doing for you. And I think people like when people think about self-care, they think about like taking a bath or, getting a massage or something, which are all great. But like even if you're taking time to do something for you and it's something that kinda sucks, to be honest. I mean, I running's not always fun when you're doing it, it's fun when you're done. You're still taking time to do something for yourself, and I think that has a lot of value, even if it's not something that's just, like, ultra sort of relaxing or luxurious in the conventional sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
totally.
right.
Yeah.
It is also like that thing you say where you can just pull on a pair of sneakers and away you go.
Mhm.
Like when we used to travel back before kids, we would always like land in a place and then the next morning just run to find our bearings
Mhm.
and just run in random direction and then find our way back. And then we would kind of have the lay of the land after that. And it was, you know, fine. Yeah, okay, there's a really good cafe there. Let's go to that later. Or let's get our breakfast from that bakery or that kind of thing. So it has
Yeah.
some very pragmatic applications as well.
Yeah. Well, and, this would also open the door for, like, virtual fundraisers in a way that not a lot of like, you could have virtual 5Ks where people all around the globe could do it. They wouldn't all have to show up at one starting line.
Yeah. Well, actually, um, Haley alerted me to this concept. I had no idea about, you know, the idea of a virtual fundraiser, but it's really good. Like, so I don't know, the kind of basic idea which I've basically explained is like you have a running event that everybody's doing, and then if you can't make it physically there, and you do it remotely in a
Mhm.
virtual sense. And yeah, I think MEFT's it's part of the foundation, the MEF2C Foundation Australia.
Mm.
Money raised is under the umbrella of the foundation, but there's nothing stopping it from being a global thing because I've noticed the other foundations in the UK and the US have been encouraging people to get involved in running events as fundraisers. So yeah, there's nothing stopping it from being. I mean, the most effective way to raise money is in your local area because you don't encounter currency exchange fees and stuff like that. So, like, if there's a way to make you know, a MEF2's run club in the UK, for example, then we'd be on board for that for sure.
Right. Yeah. Well,
Mm.
and the way it kind of lays out, excuse me, and I hadn't considered the currency. Geez Louise, my brain is not working today. I'm sorry. The those fees and stuff that you mentioned. Like me personally, whether the money goes to the Australian Foundation or like the way the community lays right now, like everybody for the most part is pulling in maybe not all the same direction, but almost everybody is pulling in two or three similar directions. So like the money that you guys make will still end up supporting the Valair study the way it would if maybe, it went to Rare Bird or whatever. So
Yeah,
it's not like money that you guys make is I don't know why I can't think today. The money all goes to a good place is my point. I don't know
yeah,
why I was overcomplicating that so much.
yeah. It just gets a little diluted on the way if it's going across and then back across again. So it's
Yeah.
trying to minimize that. I haven't got my head
Sure.
around it yet, but like open to ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything else you guys wanted to cover about the foundation or the run club or anything?
We spoke a little bit about it on our first call, the foundation. I think we might have told you that we had our first sort of person in the community reach out to us, a new diagnosis, reached out to us on our, that was really wonderful for us because it was sort of one of the main reasons why we started the foundation. We could be accessible to people, have a new diagnosis, and just be able to talk to them on the phone. And
Mm,
we had someone from the community get in touch, and I was able to talk to. She's a mom of a little boy who's around 2 years old, but I was able to talk to her about sort of our experience and just having a conversation with someone on the phone. I think is really great because you're sort of in this when you get your diagnosis, you're in this sort of medical world and you're getting this like pieces of paper given to you and you're being told you'll have genetic counselling. For us, that didn't happen until about 6 months after we got the diagnosis and wasn't that useful anyway, to be frank. So
Mm.
I think that was really great for us to have a direct contact with someone from the community. We hope that continues to happen. It's kind of like a meetup concept, right? So there's nothing better than I mean, the meetup's even better than face to face, but just having a conversation with someone who gets it, rather
yeah.
than a doctor who, has seen patients in their clinic, neurologist, but doesn't really know what it's like to live with the diagnosis.
Yeah, and getting
Yeah.
that reassurance that like it's going to be okay. I think that when you get the diagnosis, it's all the worst case scenario.
Yeah,
This
really.
is potentially what this means, and you just go straight there. You go, okay, that's what it's going to happen. So having a little bit of someone to say, well, that's not necessarily going to be the case. That's this is what our child is doing. This is what other kids in the community are doing because we're connected with them, and these are like really crucial first steps that you need to take. And
Mm,
it might be, like they might just be like ways to get into the system from a government point of view and the services that that provide.
Or the
yeah.
therapies that worked
Yeah.
well but yeah, like Sean said, it's sort of like it's an opportunity to talk. And we do this on our website, the foundation's website as well, about some of our kids' abilities and some of the joy they bring us because it's very hard to see any of that, I think, when you first get a diagnosis. Your sort of mind goes to, worst case scenario. And you're sort of given that worst case scenario by doctors often. So I think there's a bit of, yeah, sort of
Yeah.
just giving people hope and sort of resetting you know, their view about what their child might be capable of. Like our
Yeah.
kids are amazing. I think generally speaking, they're really, really happy. Uh, Kids with MCHS, like they're joyful and, you know,
Well, there's a lot of kids out there that aren't, but on like from our perspective and the Australian community, that's generally been the case.
mm,
Yeah, there's a massively statistical experience when you don't have when you're starting out with nothing, or you just wanted to add a human dimension to that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think until they have a treatment where like it basically a cure, the community is more valuable than any treatment could be because first of all, you learn about all kinds of treatments, things that help your kids through the community. And just as you said, like being able to understand that that worst case scenario isn't necessarily the case, and even if it is, it's not as bad as it sounds.
Mm.
Like, and I don't want to invalidate anyone's experience or anything. If I'm sure that can be very hard if you've got a child who's on the more severe end of these symptoms. But like, I don't know if you guys know Richmond from the group. He's Sheila's son from Texas. I mean, he's still working on walking and things. Like he's definitely got more symptoms than like I would say the average is in the group, but I love seeing him all the time. Like he's so happy and every time I see her post something about him, it puts a smile on my face. So even if you're faced with some more of those challenges, it doesn't mean you won't have a very happy child and who can is capable of living a fulfilled life. And I think that's really important to see. But
Definitely.
also to your guys' point, like for whatever reason, the doctors are sort of compelled to tell you the worst case scenario. And especially with like just the lack of data on MCHS at this juncture, like it really seems like the average is much less severe than the doctors would have you believe. You know what I mean? So they make it sound really scary. And that's not to say that it's not going to be hard, of course, but you at least have a reason to not set your expectations that low, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like we've talked to several older parents or parents of older children whose children developed language relatively late, like late teens. And if we had never spoke to them, there's probably a lot of people out there who just think their child will never speak because they're, 12, 13, 14, and they haven't yet. And they might kind of, well, why am I sending him to speech therapy if it's never going to work out and things like that. And they don't know that they're so close
Mm.
to hitting that point. So just kind of getting an accurate lay of the land, I think is the most important thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
And I think because there is so little data available, I think it's so important to learn from the parents of older children. And I love the posts on the Facebook group from parents of older children. It's like there's so many valuable lessons and sort of insights from those parents. You can get some tips and sort of see the future and good or bad or whatever it means for you. But I think yeah, it's really valuable learning from older parents of older children.
Absolutely, for sure. And don't necessarily what am I trying to say here? Like when we got our diagnosis, the first foundation that we found was actually the Spanish foundation. So don't necessarily discount that like that information is only going to help people in Australia too because when you're scrambling around on the internet, sometimes that's just the first thing that pops up, you know what I mean? So
Mm.
your reach might be broader than you think as well.
Yeah, I mean,
You-
I think we've mentioned this previously, but the community is very small, but it's very active. I think we're
Mm,
lucky from that perspective. I think you guys are doing a podcast. It's there's foundations in a lot of countries, and the people who are doing things are thinking big and acting that way as well. So it's quite remarkable, actually.
yeah. Okay, so we'll kind of wrap up with this. Obviously, like, regulatory structure is very different in every country. So I guess this question isn't from like a practical standpoint, but we've had listeners from 32 different countries now. So there's obviously not 32 different foundations. So if there was someone somewhere else in the world, a different country who wanted to start a foundation, what advice would you give them?
I'd
Mm.
say I'd say give it a crack. Don't be, it's going to be difficult, and you're going to have to kind of commit to a long term extracurricular activity, unless like one of you um, is probably the right way of saying that, but
Yeah.
I think it's right. We're still like yet to hit our straps, and I would like to get more momentum, but it's already been a really great way for us to connect with the community, and that community
Yeah.
aspect is really what has been surprisingly encouraging and motivating for me. So yeah.
Yeah, and I would say that don't let the size of the task and the responsibility deter you because, you can do even as like, Sean and I work part-time, 3 kids. Despite that, we've got a lot of value. We work, sort of benefit from ourselves and hopefully benefit to other people in ways from the experience. And yeah, so there's a lot you can do, even though it feels like you're not doing enough. Like, don't let that deter you. It's all for the greater good, I think.
Yeah. And also just like, don't be overwhelmed by the enormity of the task. Just take it one step at a time. Break it down into bite-sized pieces. We just need to do this before we can do this, before we can do this, and start with that first thing.
And find people who you can start foundation with, who you get along with well, and you have, just find good people, because there's a lot of sort of toing and froing and a lot of consulting, a
It's
lot of
checking. Yeah.
sense checking, and yeah, made easier by sort of, messaging apps and stuff. But I think if you start it with people who are on the same page as you, it makes it like it's a big job. So I think the more the
Mhm.
merrier. And if you're all on the same page, and that really helps move things along and stuff done.
Yeah, awesome. Alrighty. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. Thanks to our listeners for theirs as well. As always, you can find us on Facebook. Email us mef2cast@gmail.com, mef2cast.com. And if you want to support the store, go to our Shopify or Printify store, pick up a t-shirt or a sticker. Thanks.